Is cash still trash?
Of course cash is still trash. You know how fast you're losing buying power in cash? The Federal Reserve is going to sell. Individuals are selling. Foreigners are selling. And the U.S. government is selling because it has to fund its deficit. So there's going to be a supply-demand problem. That means that it produces a squeeze because so much money was put out at such cheap rates and so much financing was taken that it'll be difficult to achieve that balance. We're in a paradigm shift, I think. A paradigm is, something happens for 10 years, an environment for 10 years, and at the end of that 10 years, people believe everything that happened in the prior 10 years, and then they get a surprise. And then they start to change. And something like, for example, cash is a safe investment, or bonds are a safe investment. After a 40-year bull market and those types of things, that begins to shift as they start to think, am I getting a real return? So there's going to be a supply-demand balance. Most importantly,
welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily, where you subscribe for daily videos on everything going on in cryptocurrency. Billionaire, legendary investor Ray Dalio has just given his updated thoughts on the economy and why he holds Bitcoin and why you should be interested in cryptocurrencies. First, Ray Dalio identifies the three major problems in the economy today. Listen to the three problems that he identifies, and then we'll review.
What do you think? What do you think is going to happen to this crazy economy of ours?
I think three major themes that we have to understand, right? The creation of too much debt and too much money, right? And amounts that never existed in our lifetime, but existed many times in the past in the 1930 to 45 period, number one. Number two is the internal conflict, populism of the left and the right, and what that is doing both politically, and that, of course, have economic considerations. And number three is the rising of great powers to challenge the existing great power and the existing world order. Now, if you bring those things down, here we are having a monetary policy. Okay, where are we in the monetary policy? And what's the big question? So if you want me to answer that, I'll give you.
So, the three problems that Ray Dalio identified. Number one, the creation of too much money and debt. Number two, internal conflict, i.e. divided left and right. And number three, rising great powers that are challenging and bringing down existing great powers. Let's unpack these. So number one, the creation of too much money and debt, i.e. mass capital creation, sloshing around in our economy. The Fed has been kicking the can down the road forever, the rich getting richer, the wealth gap being widened. Number two, internal conflict, divided left and right, i.e. the nation is so divided right now on so many issues, people feeling disconnected from each other and, quite honestly, forgotten about by the powers that be, the people supposed to help them, like the mainstream media, like the banking system. And it seems the divide between people in social issues and many other things, the divide is just getting stronger. The mainstream media certainly doesn't help. And number three, rising great powers that are challenging and bringing down existing great powers. This could be many different things and a combination of things. America losing ground to other nations, China, Saudi Arabia, Russia. The mainstream media losing ground to independent outlets. Or maybe even the Federal Reserve and traditional finance losing ground to Bitcoin and crypto. Before we get into Bitcoin and crypto, before we hear him talk about it, let's answer the question. Is the Fed even capable of fixing things? Can the Fed reduce demand without breaking the back of the economy? What do you think?
Right. I think that big question is, can the Fed effectively reduce demand without breaking the back of the economy?
Okay. And rather than just jumping to the answer, I always like to deal with the mechanics behind the answer, And I think the answer is no, but here's the reason why. When there's a lot of debt, one man's debts are another man's financial assets. And they have to balance both of those things. And so they will not be able to raise interest rates to a high enough level to adequately provide a real return to investors. So if you think about the rise in rates, and we say 3% is an interest rate,
right,
or even 4% in an interest rate, that is not going to be an amount of money that's adequate to compensate for the inflation rate. And we're in a paradigm shift, I think. A paradigm is, something happens for 10 years, an environment for 10 years, and at the end of that 10 years, people believe everything that happened in the prior 10 years, and then they get a surprise.
Right.
And then they start to change. And something like, for example, cash is a safe investment, or bonds are a safe investment after a 40-year bull market and those types of things. That begins to shift as they start to think, am I getting a real return? So there's going to be a supply-demand balance. Most importantly, the Federal Reserve is going to sell, individuals are selling, foreigners are selling, and the U.S. government is selling because it has to fund its deficit. So there's going to be a supply-demand problem. That means that it produces a squeeze because so much money was put out at such cheap rates,
right,
and so much financing was taken that it'll be difficult to achieve that balance.
So I remember when you would tell us that cash is trash.
Yeah.
Is cash still trash?
Of course cash is still trash. Cash, I'm asking you, you know how fast you're losing buying power in cash?
I feel that in terms of inflation every day. However, I'm also, for those who own equities out there, they're feeling it even worse.
Well, it depends what cash is. Equities are trashier. Okay. The question is what's going to get you a real return, right? And so we've shifted it into an environment where assets that do well, almost like in the 70s, are in those types of things. Real assets, real return assets in its various ways are the best investments. I think the world is long. Here's the dynamic I think that's a problem. Everybody's long, equities and so on. And everybody wants everything to go up. And the Federal Reserve wants everything to go up. So what they do is they give you money and credit, lots of money and credit, that helps hyping it. And when the more they hype it, the more it becomes somebody else's financial asset they're holding.
Yep.
And so the world is holding all these financial assets and so on. You can't have that. So you're going to have an environment, I think, of negative real returns. And so as you think about how do you diversify your portfolio or even be short those things, everything can't go up all the time. That system won't work that way.
Finally, let's get Ray Dalio's thoughts on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Seems like more and more big players and thought leaders are being coaxed to speak on this lately. Bitcoin is part of the conversation, whether skeptics like it or not now. Now, Ray Dalio has come out as a Bitcoin bull in the past. Does he still own Bitcoin? What does he think of blockchain and crypto?
One of the things that you and I have talked about a lot over the years is cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And in the past year or two, it felt to me that you had shifted your view about them a little bit and actually got excited to think that maybe Bitcoin and others could get interesting. And I'm curious how you think about that now in terms of whether that's actually an inflation hedge or maybe it isn't.
No, I think, let me clarify again, because some people make stereotypical. I think that cryptocurrencies, in particular, I think blockchain's great, but let's call it a digital gold.
Right.
I think a digital gold, which would be a Bitcoin type of thing, is something that probably, in the interest of diversification of finding an alternative to gold, has a little spot relative to gold and then relative to other assets. But I think that we're in an environment that we're now going to ask, what is the new money? Okay, so meaning fiat currencies. And when we look at currencies, you hold currencies in the form of a debt.
Right.
And so when I say cash is trash, what I mean is that all currencies, in relationship to the euro, in relationship to the yen, all of those currencies, like in the 1930s, will be currencies that will go down in relationships to goods and services. And we are in an environment where we're going to be looking at what are those assets? What is the type of money that you could move between countries that's a medium of exchange and a storehold of wealth? And that's what I'm talking about. And I'm saying that Bitcoin has made a tremendous achievement over the last 11 years of being able to. It's a tiny percentage of my portfolio. I think the Bitcoin people get too preoccupied with it. The gold bugs get too preoccupied with it. And I think you have to look at the broader set of assets that serve that purpose.
There you have it. Ray Dalio likes Bitcoin. Ray Dalio likes blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And perhaps Bitcoin and crypto are one of the most clear answers to help us opt out of the failing economy, the doomed Fed, the inflated dollar. People are starting to realize that Bitcoin and crypto are here to stay. Cryptocurrencies and blockchains are great. Ray Dalio. Bitcoin has made a tremendous achievement over the past 11 years. It's a tiny percentage of my portfolio. And Ray Dalio even said that crypto has a place in the wider set of asset classes. The future is Bitcoin. The future is crypto. Make sure you subscribe to our channel for daily cryptocurrency coverage, a video every day, providing you with value, news, opinion, analysis. Smash the like button, and I will see you tomorrow, my friend.